Hi, this is Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California. Today we're going to be learning Parsva Kukkutasana, which is side cock. You gotta love that, side cock, but this is not Kama Sutra, so don't get excited about the side cock thing. It's basically just a side crow done in full lotus, okay? All of our poses today are going to be coming from a tripod headstand. If you don't know how to do a tripod headstand, I recommend watching my video on tripod headstand. But if you can sort of do it, but you're a little unstable, you can always set it up in front of a wall so that if you fall over, there's a wall there. Just make sure you're far enough from the wall that if you were to lift your head wouldn't smack said wall for obvious reasons. Okay, we're going to start off with the most basic entry. I'm going to tie my braids into a knot here behind my head. The most basic entry, and what that's going to be is just learning how to get into crow, because the same way we get into crow is the same way we're going to get into all of our poses from our headstand. So you'll start with your hands equidistant from your head, and you can get up however you want to. I'm not really teaching headstand right now, so that's something you're going to have to sort of figure out on your own. But to get into a crow, the trick is this. As I bend my knees down towards my chest, and of course I have an entire video of just this if you want more instruction, more specific instruction, but let's give the brief overview, which is as my knees come down, I'm going to pull them as close to my armpits as possible, not to my elbows, but to my armpits. You see how they go way forward. Now, the problem that most people have here is they just lift their head and flop onto their feet, okay? We do not want that problem. So in order to bypass that, the reason that we fall backwards is because when we lift our head, our body is too heavy behind us. We're just going to keep falling on our feet. What we need to do is learn to compensate. When there's something heavy behind me, I must have something to compensate in front of me. Okay, so instead of coming straight up into this transition, once I'm in my headstand and my knees come all the way up into my armpits, and I sit my toes down towards my heels, I'm going to first roll to my forehead, and instead of lifting up, I'm going to think about lifting forward. You see how I'm extending forward. And then looking up with my whole collarbones and gaze to get into my nice stable pose. That's balanced from front to back. Okay? So that is going to be the fundamental entry. Okay, second, we got to figure out how to do this in a twist. Okay, the twist is where it gets a little bit more funky, because when we do twists, usually in yoga we have some sort of leverage, right? We're pressing into something. We don't have that when we're in a headstand. So we have to create our own leverage. Okay, remember in a twist you use your exhales to turn from midline, to turn yourself deeper. So coming into side crow is very, very similar, of course, to coming to to crow, but it has its differences. In my crow pose, my legs went straight back behind me, but in my side crow, when I come up, so first thing I do is I have to bend my knees, same thing as before. Make sure your hands are really stable. If your hands get light, you lose your base, and you know it's all about the base, right? So we're going to bend our knees towards our chest, but not all the way in, because that's going to decrease our mobility. So about halfway in. And then we're going to take the tailbone and twist it to the right, making sure your shoulders do not come with you. Okay, this is super important. The whole nature of a twist is that one part is stable and one part is twisting. Shoulders, stable, hips, twisting. I turn at the hips, and I'm going to pull my knees in towards my chest as I take them down to my arm. Again, you see that I'm sort of moving towards the armpit.
but notice how my feet are not behind me. They're sort of to the side of me now. Now when I lift off, and this is the most important thing when we're working with the Parsva Kukkutasana, when I start to lift, my body weight is going to want to turn towards the legs, okay? And you see how that's going to spin me right out of the pose. You have to make sure you don't turn into the twist, but rather resist the twist. So as your body wants to turn towards your legs, you're going to pull your head and shoulders away from the legs, okay? So my legs are going to go right, my head and shoulders are going to go left. They're not really going to go left. Going left means staying square in this scenario. So, it's head down, palms flat, lots of energy in my arms. As I lift off, I bend my knees about halfway down. I take that big old twist. Can I get my quadricep, not my quads, really more my IT band, to the outside of my arm? And remember, not only am I going to square off, but as I drop my hips and press into my hands, I'm going to move my head forward. Okay, not up, but forward. So I'm evening out what's behind me and what's in front of me. Okay? If you feel like you're twisting out of the pose, put more energy into the opposite arm, into the left arm in this scenario. Okay, got that? Now, as with all my videos, wait until you nail one thing before moving on. So you may not make it through this whole video today. Maybe that's what you need to work on for a little while, and then you come back. Now, getting into full lotus upside down. So far as I'm concerned, it's actually easier than getting into a full lotus sitting down. But let me show you how you can use the wall to help you out. So you go fairly close to the wall. You could even go right up to the wall on this one. And lift up. And we're going to just put your tush, well first your feet, then your tush right on the wall. Like so you're just like totally just sitting on the wall like a wallflower. Take one leg and you're going to bend it towards the hip. Now this is just going to, having the wall behind you is going to give you some leverage to help you get that second leg in. So you see how my knee is low here? I push my knee back to the wall, and then as this knee pushes back, I just bend my other leg, and you see how I do this squishy thing, how I sort of roll my foot in? And I'm going to try to get into a nice lotus-y lock here. Okay? So, I have to be pressed against the wall here because I have no room in my tiny studio to get these shots on, so I have to keep turning around. Now I'm going to show you how to do the same thing without the wall. So I'm still in front of the wall, so you can see what's going on in my legs. And now you can see what's going on in my ass. Okay. So I lift up. Now, to get in without the wall, same thing. My foot comes down, but I don't have the leverage of the wall to press into. So you see how I'm hitting my leg with the outer edge of my foot, and my knee is forward to start. That gets me lower into this pose. Or you might say higher because you're upside down. Then I'm going to press my knee backwards as if it were aiming for the wall. My other leg again. Now, as this top leg bends, my bottom leg actually slides closer to my hip, which is nice. I pull it in, and again, you see how I roll my ankle. Now, when you're doing these poses, you want to try, if you can, to sort of squish the knees in. There's a massive bee right outside my window, like so massive that I'm afraid it might break through my window. But don't worry about me, I'll be fine. Okay, so here's my full lotus and headstand. Okay, coming out. Okay, so in order to get into the Parsva Kukkutasana, it's an enormous twist, okay, like enormous. So we're going to start off with just sort of half of a Parsva Kukkutasana, like a quarter Kukkutasana. Okay, so braids right off my head. No, I'm not. Okay. So I take my full lotus. My knee comes forward to get my foot way in there. As my top leg folds in. Now all we're going to do is that like crisscrossy part of my leg, I'm going to twist like I was going to come into my Parsva Kukkutasana, my twisting crow, and I'm just going to take sort of that ankly part of my feet and put it onto my arm. So I'm just halfway in. Now my knee, my bottom knee is going to sort of come through my arms as I press into the heel of the palm and what? Look forward to take me into sort of this half side crow, half Parsva Kukkutasana, weird little amalgamation of things. Okay? Now, you see how this evolution is very simple from that just lifting from the crow. In all of these, when I say look forward, I don't just mean lift your head, I don't just mean look to the wall, I mean lift and open your collarbones broadly, okay? Show the world that awesome, amazing chest. And really bad tan lines. Okay, so once you have that sort of Parsva Kukkutasana, which may or may not be the actual name, you're ready to go for the real thing. Now, again, when we're going for the full pose on this one, you have to really, really, really compensate as you lift. This is such a big twist. Your body is going to have such a strong tendency to turn towards the lotus, okay? Do not turn towards the lotus. Resist the lotus at all costs. So when you come into this one, make sure that as you lift, you're also going to twist away from the legs. So the head comes down. Again, handstand any way you want. You can do this in front of a wall if you need to. The truth is when you fall, all you're going to do is fall into your butt, so it doesn't really hurt very much. Now on this one, once I come into my lotus, I'm going to try to really, really squish my knees as close together as possible, because the closer my knees are, the less they have to travel, so the twist becomes easier. Now, I also like to cheat this one by moving. I'm going to go to the right. I'm moving my right foot in. That's not a foot. It's a hand in a little bit, and my left hand out a little bit. That way, this right arm is closer in and easily, or more easily accessible. So as I fold it in, this is going to be a huge twist to get that left leg to the right triceps. Now, my tendency to twist again or curl into those legs is tremendous. So as I start to drop my hips and roll to my forehead, I press into the heel of my palm, to lift myself into the pose. Why heel of the palm? Because the heel of my palm presses me forward, whereas the fingertips press me back. This goes for all of your arm balances and all of your inversions. You're controlling yourself a lot just with the actions of the hands. Heel of the palm presses me up, forward, fingertips presses me backwards. Okay, I'm going to try that just one more time at a little bit more of an angle, hoping that maybe you'll be able to see something different. Okay. So at a bit of an angle this time, as a Virgo, I can tell you it's very hard for me to do this at an angle. Everything is off now. Things are out of order, and I don't know what to do. Okay, I'll try this. Right leg in, slide it in, left leg in, move it out. Okay, so close knees, big twist. I'm going to pull all the way to the other side. As my butt comes down, pressing into the heel of my palms,
This is Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California, wishing you an awesome day. While you're at it, an awesome week. Okay, have an awesome month, an awesome year, have an awesome life, and I'll see you again really soon.